Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.
Well, Sheil Kinnear, the Wexford-based accountancy practice, recently announced that it has joined Xeinadin's expanding Irish operations. In June, Xeinadin announced that it will be investing €40 million in the Irish market over the next 18 months, and its merger with Sheil Kinnear forms part of this expansion. David O'Connor, director of Sheil Kinnear, joins us now to outline the impact of this deal for the local firm. David, what can you tell us about Xeinadin?
Morning, Karl, and thanks for having me. So Xeinadin is now an organisation that has about 2,000 employees across the UK and Ireland. It is a consolidation of SME accountants that would serve SME clients in Wexford and across Ireland and similarly in the UK. So it's become quite a big organisation in the last 6 years or so, and I suppose continued growth would be the target for the group.
And what appealed to Sheil Kinnear about Xeinadin?
You will be aware in business in the last 4 or 5 years, there's been lots of consolidation happening in various different sectors. You've seen the insurance, dentists, veterinary practices. A lot of industries have been, taking advantage of the consolidation that have been going on, I suppose, to create organisations that are bigger and maybe more efficient and maybe offer better services and so on. So the accountancy industry has been going through some of that process itself over the last 3, 4, 5 years. And, while we were fully independent and quite a nice business here in Wexford, I suppose maybe tail end of 2023, we were getting interest from various different suitors. And ultimately, we felt that Xeinadin was a very good fit for Sheil Kinnear in terms of culture and what they were about. And we chose to join their offering and we officially joined them in April of this year.
So how would you describe the Xeinadin culture?
The Xeinadin culture really is to service SME clients and to be always cognizant that you're serving SME clients, and that's where your business is, and to be the local partner for those clients and to be there for them, and that's what to us, I suppose, attracted us to Xeinadin is to do the right thing by your clients and for your clients, and that really would be the Xeinadin culture, maybe if I could describe it as such.
And what will this mean for clients of Sheil Kinnear?
So Sheil Kinnear is I suppose, a typical SME practice. We've around 30 people working in the business now, and we would consider ourselves to be a very good general practice. But I suppose with numbers and so on comes limits in terms of what you can do. So I think what this does straight away is that it opens us up to a whole host of services that we can provide under the Xeinadin brand that we possibly had to use external consultants to supply under our previous Sheil Kinnear banner. So that allows us to be, I suppose, more hands-on with clients and keep everything under the one umbrella.
So what new services will Sheil Kinnear be offering as a result?
So for example, I suppose some complex tax issues like R&D tax credits, which can be a very lucrative opportunity for many clients, and it's something that we possibly wouldn't have had enough clients doing it to warrant investment in an R&D specialist in-house. So that's one very clear example where we will have access to that on an ongoing basis from our team in Xeinadin, or very complex tax planning cases that again that wouldn't be massively common in Sheil Kinnear, but are very common in the Xeinadin tax grouping. So it gives us immediate access to that service and a very high quality service as well.
What will this actually mean for Sheil Kinnear from a growth perspective?
I think accountancy growth is a very it's very personality driven to some degree, but I suppose what it allows us to do, Karl, is it allows us to take away the tasks and jobs in the practice that are not client facing, and will allow our partners and our staff to be more focused on the staff or on the client work, as opposed to dealing with overhead issues that you as a business owner would have been a big challenge for you at a certain scale. So we can centralize a lot of those tasks and allow us then to do what we do best, which is serve clients, and by serving clients and serving them well, you naturally grow the business. But listen to that, we can broaden our marketing offering and have a lot more materials to go to clients to show them service that we provide, and Xeinadin will support all that for us and help us to grow the Xeinadin brand in Wexford.
And just in relation to those back office tasks, are you using much automation and artificial intelligence in those already?
There's actually one of the reasons, or one of the thought processes we had in this joining of Xeinadin, because we're very well aware that technology is going to completely shake up what we do. Whether that's in 5 years or 10 years, I don't know, but I do know it's going to happen. And what I would have felt in Sheil Kinnear as a partner down there, and all the partners down there, we all embrace technology and so on, but we invest an awful lot of time figuring out what the right thing to do is and where the next move is going to be. And that's difficult then to combine that with your day to day. So what the Lane has done straight away is that they are investing in an IT team that actually will accelerate that change to AI and to accelerate the adoption of automation and what the best things for us are at our actual jobs, which is a huge help for us, because instead of us investing a lot of time that we could be dealing with clients, we've task forces and working groups and IT teams set up to actually figure out what's the best way for us to use IT. And for me, that was actually a huge part in the decision to join this group.
And David, will Sheil Kinnear be rebranding as part of this move?
So the honest answer to that is no, we don't have any immediate plans to rebrand Sheil Kinnear. I think we will take on the Xeinadin logo as part of our branding to identify us as part of Xeinadin. And what happens down the line then is to be decided, but we will adopt the right strategy at the time.
And from an integration perspective, was there much involved?
What I found is that I have now got an open door to many of the top practices in Ireland. In some of my previous roles, I got to know a lot of really good guys in the accountancy practice, and now I can pick up the phone to them as teammates and say, look, how do you do this, or how can we improve that? And that's been really useful from our perspective, because no matter how good you do stuff, there's always ways of doing it better. So it's been really useful to be able to collaborate with people in Cork or Dublin that it would really respect it as a I suppose a peer, but looking in as opposed to being a teammate. And to me, that's been a huge benefit of being in Xeinadin.
Do you expect many more practices around the county and indeed around the country to join forces with organisations like Xeinadin in the years ahead?
I do. I think that it's probably going to be the way of the future. I think that the day of the sole trader certainly is under pressure. I think that compliance now is very challenging in itself. I think complex tax planning is very challenging. I think that ultimately there will be strength in numbers going forward in our profession. I think how people adapt to and adopt technology will be, really important factors for people in terms of whether they survive or don't in our profession. And I think that ultimately, picking the right technologies and having a group to support you will be a huge attraction to a lot of practices in the next 2, 3, 4 years.
And David, what advice have you got for anyone listening this morning that's considering pursuing a career in accountancy?
I think do it. I think I'm an engineer, Karl, believe it or not. That was my initial degree back in 2003. And I went back to become an accountant in 2006. And I think it was the best move that I ever made in terms of, well, it was the career for me, I guess, that I didn't get the first time around, but it was the best move I made in terms of learning about business and getting exposed to multiple different businesses. And there is a huge demand for accountants still, and it will continue to be. And I think the profession is going to change. I think a lot of the tasks that I was trained to do will be automated in time, but it's your business learning and your ability to give advice and understand business and to help your clients in high level thinking will be how accountancy will evolve over time. So I think it's a great career. I think it's a hugely mobile career, and I think that it's something that if you're interested in doing, I think it's well worth doing. And what I say to people who start is, and they get second thoughts maybe a year and a half in, if you qualify in 3.5 years, at that point in time you have your accountancy qualification, and literally you can travel anywhere in the world.
And of course, you're dealing with hundreds of clients here, not just in Wexford, but further afield. What are you hearing from them today in terms of their sentiment?
It's a real mixed bag, Karl, and really probably depends on what sector they're in. So, people that are purely F&B, which is food and beverage, would probably say it's a very, very tough time because, cost inflation's been huge for them. Labour is a huge challenge for them. The availability of labour and the cost of labour. The VAT rate is a huge challenge, going from 9 to 13.5%. And then other sectors will probably say that, the market is good, the market is strong, demand is very, very strong. But I think everybody is saying that there's just probably a lack of labour at the moment, a lack of labour, affordable labour to get jobs done, and that's not industry specific, that's probably across the board.
And what are you finding is being said in relation to the business-to-business service providers?
Demand is very strong. I think demand is very, very strong. We would see that across the board, that there's still a lot of work being tendered for and a lot of demand out there. And business sentiment to me seems to be strong at the moment, and people are pressing on with plans. Every, say, August or September, October, where you've got these corporation tax receipts, you'll hear the government saying, oh, it's a windfall this month, and we shouldn't be letting to rely on that. But corporation tax returns are consistently strong for SMEs and for the multinationals. So that there's a lot of money out there to be invested, and I think people are investing the money, and demand is strong across the board.
And what about access to finance? What are your clients saying to you about that?
So the banks are willing to lend, but I think the barriers have become pretty high, I suppose, since what we call the great financial crash over the years. The banks are very, conservative now with their lending policies, and you have to have all your T's crossed and your I's dotted before you get the money. But again, the money is there. I think the banks they're very conservative now in terms of lending, but if the right projects are there, they're certainly supporting them.
And what's your own economic outlook here in Ireland for the next 12 months?
I think the economic statement that was released there 2 weeks ago would indicate that consumer demand is strong. The housing market is demand for housing is a huge driver in our economy, whether we like it or not. And it's very hard to see that faltering for the next 3 or 4 years. The Irish economy is really a two-speed thing. You have the multinationals that probably have a disproportionate amount of influence over what we read in the papers, but domestic demand seems to be quite strong, and that's as much as we can hope for, I suppose, for the next 12 months.
And it's often been said, that small business owners, they're so focused on keeping the business going and growing it that they often forget about themselves from a personal wealth perspective. Do you find that they don't put enough of time into, let's say, tax planning and maybe succession planning?
100%. I think that is a huge point for a lot of people, because as you know, like to get a business off the ground and to make it successful, there's no easy way. You have to work really hard with it. And sometimes the business owner, they don't think of themselves as they should do. And I think tax planning is one aspect of it in terms of managing the wealth that they're creating. But succession planning, it rolls around pretty quickly, and suddenly people are maybe looking at their late 50s, early 60s, and there is no natural successor in the business or in the family, and what do they do next? And then it becomes, it can be a challenge. But I suppose if you partner with the right people, it gives you an opportunity to maybe think about that early in play, rather than having a last minute, I suppose, crisis where you lose value, right? So if you're looking at that every time every year or every 3 months or whatever the right time frame is for you, it means you've better options when the time comes to make your move.
Well, if you've just tuned in, that was David O'Connor, Director of Sheil Kinnear, and I'd like to wish David and the team every success as they embark on this exciting journey with Xeinadin.
Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.